All right, so here we go. Um, so we got our camera.html. Did he send us that CVG file? Yeah, the SVG. Did he send that to us? I might have to check. I'm gonna stop this. So I'll start a new. All right, but you don't need to open it up. I'll just do it from here. Um, so this is, I mean, your basic template. Some of this I'm just gonna is not needed. Just get rid of that. And so we got different elements. This here, this chunk of code here is the let me call it is this DOM code technology. This top bar right here. So that's what this little chunk of code is doing. Have you ever worked with sprites, CSS sprites?
Just divs and sections.
Okay, so a CSS sprite is, and I'll show you what it looks like. A CSS sprite is basically one image file that has lots of other images on the contained in that image, and it's what's the use of that is so you only have one image file, but you can access all those little images that are on that image file in your CSS, and it will display on your HTML page, and all you've loaded is one image. And say, for example, here's Gmail. Every single image that's on here, like this, all of this, is from a sprite. There's only one image on this page, and so, and I'll open up the sprite file and show it to you. So we go into our app, and then our assets, and images, and then you see I've got a sprites folder in here, and we'll go into there, and we'll just open this one up, and you see, so you see all these different little images here, and all I've done is I've accessed this image. Where's it at? I guess it's just, yeah, this image right here. See where it says DOM code technology. I have accessed that image and put it on the at the top bar. And the way you do that is, so you set up your HTML, which is, this is just a series of different classes that, and we're going to go into our SASS file and look, and I'll show you how you access those sprites. So we'll go into our sprites.scss, and so you see where it's got the background position 0 minus 924. That corresponds to this image, like it's like a x and y coordinate. So it's going like 0 from the 0, then down 924. I'm not exactly how it worked, but it's basically, it's a xy coordinate that when you put that 0 in the minus 924 pix, it zooms in. It just goes into this DOM code. It takes this little image, and then it's going to pop it right there. And if I was to change the position, I mean, let's see, you could change it to maybe 0 minus 350 or something. It might show this image. And so you can you can have as many images on here, and as long as you give it the right x and y coordinates, you can use that image as a background image. And it's really, a lot of times people use it for like social media icons. So you can have an image like this, and it's got your Twitter and your Facebook and your LinkedIn and all the whatever social media sites you need to access. So you can just put in coordinates, and you can have your little, follow us Twitter, and you have all these different, without having to have so many different pictures. And so, and we'll get into more of that. So, because we're going to be using a lot of sprites. We're going to be using to put images on the page is mainly going to be using sprites. We're not going to be like, you've probably added images to a page using the image tag. We probably won't be doing much of that. We'll probably be just using classes and accessing the sprites. So back to the login.html. So that chunk of code corresponds to this top. And do you know how to use which browser do you prefer to work with? Chrome?
Chrome is between Chrome and Firefox.
Yeah. And there's a new Firefox, the Firefox Developer Edition. It's everything on the Firefox browser, but it's been designed specifically for developers. And so it has a lot of really good developer tools built in. And that's what I'm using right now. So you know how to inspect. Have you ever used the inspector to inspect an element on a page?
We've had to before, like have a checker code.
Yeah, so if you go and you right click on here and go to inspect element, it's going to pop this thing up at the bottom, and you see how where I navigate over these,
And you highlight over and it shows.
and it shows you what
That helps if I can't figure out a mistake.
Yeah, it can help. So using this is really, and you can edit your HTML in this little thing. I personally don't like doing it. Jim really loves it, and I can see the advantage, but the disadvantage is that it's not going to save your changes on your local file. So you may make some changes and you really like it, and then you close out the browser and you think that you've saved all that, but you haven't. It's all gone. Once you refresh the browser, all this, but it is, and you see how I went to this. I'm inside this container element, which contains basically the whole login box there. And so let's say I want to increase the width of it. I can double click on this, and I can just, with my arrow keys, I can just press up, and it's just going to keep, and I can see how to change I can make it bigger or smaller. You can change all these different properties, and like I said, so, and once I refresh it, it's gone. It's back to where, so you just got to be careful with that. I personally don't like, I will sometimes use it to test things out, but with the way I have my Sublime Text set up with it, every time I save, it's just going to automatically update the changes. I mean, I don't really see the advantage to putting, and so we'll be using a lot of when we're designing and doing our HTML, be using a lot of different classes. I'll probably change this. I need to, using a div there, and you've probably worked with IDs. It's not really the preferred way to go about it. You should really know the IDs. You probably want to use, I should change all those IDs to classes. That's just kind of the best practice. I mean, there's nothing wrong with doing it this way, but
IDs for like very specific like elements you're probably not going to like reuse.
IDs are, sometimes you can't avoid using an ID because like on inputs you have to have, well, you don't have to, but you know, you can't, you use IDs a lot with those. Yeah, like you said, the IDs are only useful if you want to edit one specific element. You can't reuse the once you use the ID, you can use it once. Whereas a class you can use a million times. So you got to be kind of careful with your IDs, and naming things are really important because you kind of it's easy to you have container, and then you get further on and you want to name another element and you put it container, and it's going to do the styles. So you might you might call it like login container or something like that, but you probably don't want to do that as little as possible. The fewer classes you use, the better. So that way you don't get as confused as what class I need to use here. So there are a lot of best practices I didn't do on this file. So kind of like do as I say, not as I do. But nah, I will probably change it to make it better. I don't know what he really there's no rocket science here. This is pretty straightforward, and with as far as designing the HTML. But let's say we're going to design the camera page. We're going to start with let's see, we'll call this the camera view or something, and go ahead and link it up to the good thing about the way I have everything set up, no matter how many HTML files that you create, all you have to do is link to the exact same CSS style sheet, and then go in and edit. Let's say we don't need that's bare. Let's just to make sure the page works. We'll just type in some text and save it, and which you're very rarely going to see HTML pages that don't work. HTML is pretty forgiving. When you get into languages like PHP, that's when things can get a little more head banging, where you type in a page and you try to open it and all you see is a blank white page, and you're like, okay, what's going on? And so we have this starting file here, and we just want to start working with it, so we can go, so we know it's the camera page, so we can go in and create us a SASS file that works specifically with that page. And see, I have the SASS files broken into components, content, and toolbox. The toolbox has like stuff that we're all really gonna, it's like a toolbox of tricks. It's you got your functions, your mixins, your reset, which you're always going to want to have your reset. You always want to include these, basically your reset, mixins, and variables, because we'll be using those a lot. And then components is basically I splitting those up into sections that are inside the page, as and you can tell what those are, because I like to name things specific. I don't like to be vague, so that this footer .scss, that's going to style stuff in the footer, and then you got the header, and you got the navigation. So whenever you want to edit those sections, you want to go there. This content folder is more for the specific pages. See, I have the login form, so we're going to go and we're going to create a new page here, and we're going to call it camera .scss. And so here's where we want to, as we're editing this HTML file, we'll start styling things. So say we have a class of container here.